another thing I found out about Q4 is when Amazon goes out of stock like that on something, they normally don't get a huge amount back in. When they go out of stock early, you know, they might have it a little bit, but not, they won't come back full force like they were before.
You said, I have a goal of hitting 25K. You had an incredible Thanksgiving weekend, I believe, and said, wow, I think I can do 25K for the 30-day period. And I said, no, I think you're going to triple it. Yeah, and lo and behold, you did.
It was crazy. Yeah.
That's the power of Q4. So you didn't realize it. You were uniquely positioned to take advantage of it, but you didn't realize that you were going to sell as much as you did you?
No, I did not. I was hoping, as always, but yeah, I didn't have any idea it was going to go as fast as it goes when it actually does hit, because you're really worried in the beginning that it's not going to, you know, because your sales aren't where you thought they should be. And then when it really does hit, you're like, oh, it's like a whirlwind. You just got to keep going and get more stuff. And just like you were talking about before, where you went out to all those Walmarts, your stories were so relatable, because I did the exact same thing with stuff that was selling out in a hurry.
So would you talk a little bit more about that? What was that strategy right there?
Well, basically it's difficult to predict, just like you said. What I did last year, I kind of started in July. And I kind of paid attention to what my grandkids were watching on TV. So I would watch their commercials. And I would see, you know, they'd turn around, hey, Grandma, look at this, you know, watch this. And I'd make a note of that item that they were looking at. And then I'd start looking into it, researching it, checking Keepa. And a lot of the things that I bought in July last year had bad, you know, the rankings were not very good. But if you went and looked at Keepa, you could definitely see that they changed in Q4. So I bought a lot of merchandise in July last year. Things to also look at is like movies. What's the popular movies that are coming out? And I did that last year too. There was a bunch of different things that came out last year that I checked the toys and checked different items and added those into inventory. So like watch for what's coming out this year movie wise. We just had a big Toy Story one. We have Frozen coming up. Those things are going to be really popular because the kids are going to want all the toys, the pajamas. They're going to want all the stuff that has to do with those movies. And also, like I said, commercials are a great way. I mean, if you can watch cartoons in the morning, they're a great way to find what the kids are going to be wanting for Christmas.
So is that what you do? You watch cartoons every morning?
No, I have my grandkids come over. They watch the cartoons, and then they always yell at me when the commercial comes on of something that they want. So no, I can't watch that much commercials.
You know, that's kind of sad. I mean, every gift you give your child, you're robbing yourself of profit, aren't you? What were the big sellers for you last year, if you don't mind sharing? Big
sellers. I sold a lot. Well, I sold a lot of toys, but I also sold a lot in home. There's so many things to look for other than just toys. I mean, there's, you know, grandma's not going to want Spider-Man toy, so you got to think of what grandma would want. There's just so many other things. I sold a lot of like, not party wear, but I sold a lot of stuff to get ready for parties, like silverware, tablecloths, napkins, you know, all the other stuff that people are going to need to get ready for parties. I sold a lot of stuff like that. I sold a lot of kids stuff, as far as like blankets, bedding, stuff for kids and babies, a lot of baby stuff as well. And it's hard to remember, you know, when those sales come in fast and furious like that, it's hard to even remember, you know, what you're selling every day, because it just, during the year, it's kind of easy to keep track of what goes in and what goes out. But when it comes to that time of year, you just, without, I mean, you have to check your inventory every day, adjust your prices every day. You have to be on top of all that stuff to know where you are and what you need to do. because it just goes so crazy that it's hard to keep track of.
That's a really important point, and I hope everybody took note of that. By the way, Danita Zonre and Kay Curtis will be talking about walking your store, taking notice of what's in there and how to maintain that. Martha, what was the biggest surprise? Something that sold that you didn't think necessarily would really sell?
The biggest surprise, goodness. What did you know what? I honestly can't answer that question. I sold stuff that had been sitting in my inventory that I didn't think would sell because it was sitting in my inventory for a while, and it sells. I mean, so much stuff sold that I think the biggest surprise was stuff that had already been in the inventory and I kind of forgot about because I was so busy getting ready for other things, that the stuff kind of cleaned itself out of my inventory through Q4. So I really didn't have to worry about that. I think that was the biggest surprise that I had.
Did you have any surprises that went the other way? Items that you thought that would sell that didn't sell, or perhaps you just had too much competition that price never went up, something like that?
See, that's the hard thing. There's so many variables with this business. I mean, you can plan and do all the research and you got all the inventory, and then all of a sudden Amazon jumps on or a wholesaler jumps on and they cut the price to where you're not going to make anything. So that's when when you're adjusting your prices every day, because you'll have to go in. Last year I went in the morning and in the night and adjusted prices. So you have to be on top of that so that you can have your price where you want to be when they go out of stock, or because honestly, most of the time you can't compete with Amazon or even a wholesaler because they get such a better price than we are able to get. But as long as you have the right toy, you're able to hold that price. Last year I had a fire truck and I bought, I don't know how many of this Paw Patrol fire truck, whatever. And Amazon went out of stock fairly early with this Paw Patrol fire truck. And that was my chance. So I bought it for $30. Amazon sold it for $35. So there's no way I was going to make any money on it. And it was a big, big toy. So there was a lot of fees related to it. But so when they went out of stock, my price the price of it went up to $110, $115. And I sold all of them within, like you were saying, within a certain amount of time. Another thing I found out about Q4 is when Amazon goes out of stock like that on something, they normally don't get a huge amount back in. So they have the huge amount in the beginning, but when they went out of stock, I mean, they didn't bring a huge amount back in. So they bring maybe another 50 units or another 20 units or something like that, but they never were back in stock the whole rest of the time. So that was something that I learned last year, that was when they got out of stock early, they might have it a little bit, but they won't come back full force like they were before. But
how are you preparing differently this year than last?
Well, I've done a few things different. Mainly, this year I've hired my nieces. They are working for me in OA. So what I've done is I've given them like different websites to look at. So they go on and scan and they add the product to my cart. And then they send me a text and say, okay, so many items are in the cart. And then I go back through it and then I just order it. That way I don't have to look them up. They're all in my cart. I just check them again, place the order and go. And then they get delivered. So I've hired them to help me source. And then I've put in a few different apps that I use all the time now. I'm still looking for somebody to help me with the shipping part of it, because that's the one part that never ends during Q4. But last year I got Inventory Lab, but I didn't implement it because I used it, but I didn't use it for shipping. So this year I learned how to do my shipping through Inventory Lab, which cuts your time in half as far as that goes. I've got a repricer now, which you still have to look at your listings, but that just saves so much more time, and it keeps you in the buy box too. So the repricer, I've got this was interesting. I went with an app that's called Seller Bench. Have you heard of Seller Bench?
I have. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Seller Bench actually recouped right now it's over $2,000 in lost inventory for me from last year. So, and they also told me that they will also, like when Amazon loses products in your shipment, that they can go after those products that they have lost in your shipment as well. So Seller Bench has been a huge time saver for me, as far as I don't have to keep track of all that. They're doing all that for me. And if they lose something or misplace it, Seller Bench is going to find it for me. Another app that I use, as far as when I'm researching inventory, is How Many. I use the app How Many, and when I pull up different items, when I'm looking at it, I can see how many each seller has and approximately how many they sell per month, and kind of make decisions off that. So other than that, being prepared is probably the biggest thing, and taking the stress out of it. So as far as making sure you have everything ready to go that you know to do. So make sure you have all your shipping supplies. Make sure you're ready to go with all that. Just so when you're in the middle of a shipment, you don't have to stop and run out and buy boxes or run out and buy tapes. You can just keep everything streamlined, keep everything going, because you'll be shipping 3 to 4 times a week. You'll be running for stuff. You want to make sure all the stuff is there so that when you're ready to go, you can just get it all sent in.
So shipping, how late were you shipping? How late into the year were you shipping?
I shipped all the way through. I even shipped, all the way through December. I never stopped. Honestly, my shipments, probably when I was doing 3 and 4 shipments a week through October and November, and then around the beginning of December, I started only maybe 2 or 3 a week, but I just kept shipping. Everything I could do, I just kept shipping. I never stopped. And that's another thing. A couple of things about Amazon does change during Q4, so you have to be on top of that too, because there's toy restrictions, there's storage fees that change, and the warehouses slow down. Everybody else, is shipping their stuff in too. So you have to be prepared, and you have to get all your stuff in early enough to when the shoppers do go crazy, that all your stuff is there and ready to go so they can buy it. But the storage fees, that's another thing. They hit you pretty hard. But honestly, when you think about if you didn't ship it in early and you didn't have it there for when it all hit, where would you be? I mean, I'd rather pay the fee and be able to have all my merchandise there so that I can kill it for that month than to worry about the fees.